Chris Jericho's contract status with AEW is unknown and a return to WWE could be on the cards. Here's what we know so far. Now, as for AEW, Chris Jericho has been with them since pretty much their inception. He made a surprise appearance at a media event in early 2019, and then when they had their first major pay-per-view event, Double or Nothing, he was signed as full-time talent. In their August of 2019 pay-per-view event called All Out, Chris Jericho even became their inaugural AEW World Champion. Make no mistake about it, Chris Jericho has been instrumental in AEW establishing credibility and reputation by having a signed major wrestler. While you might not think of Chris Jericho as a major deal, I certainly remember him from my childhood as he was the very first WWE Undisputed Champion, and he even beat The Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin in the same night. If that's not a push, I don't know what is. So we've covered enough about Jericho and his accolades, and I'm just trying to avoid ending up on the list here.
You just made the list!
But let's talk about his contract status. His last confirmed on-camera appearance was in April of 2025, cutting a bit of a promo after a storyline loss. The rumor mill started to really pick up some steam throughout 2025 as Chris Jericho was not seen on television and people were starting to question his contract status. In late 2025, a widely circulated rumor began to spread that Chris Jericho's AEW contract actually ended on December 31, 2025, making him from the 1st of January a free agent.
I think it's best that I leave.
Now, some comments made by Chris Jericho around this time, or actually a little bit earlier in November, really added fuel to the fire that he is almost definitely going to be going to WWE. In November, on his Talk is Jericho podcast, he actually praised attendance numbers at a TNA event, likening it to that of a WWE crowd, and he mentioned that a recent AEW event that had happened around the same period looked amateur and almost indie-like. Now, it's hard to say if this is just people sort of speculating and exaggerating things for the sake of a headline, but it doesn't necessarily sound conducive to having a productive relationship with your employer if you are publicly talking about their product as being inferior to their direct competition. So at this point, things well and truly became not a matter of is Chris Jericho going to show up in WWE, but when is Chris Jericho going to re-debut in WWE? And by the way, his original debut against The Rock has to be one of the greatest WWE debuts of all time. Back in the day, this was before dirt sheets and online wrestling communities were as established as they are now, but there was just enough rumors going around that Jericho might have debuted, so you had huge anticipation, and when he actually did, the pop was insane. I still watch it to this day and get goosebumps. Now, before we get to the very latest in Jericho's current contract status with AEW, let's talk about when the fans have expected to see him in WWE. The number one pay-per-view that a lot of WWE fans expected Chris Jericho to make an appearance at this year was the Royal Rumble. This has historically been a place where a lot of major returns to the roster take place. I went and watched it at the Cosmo in LA and it was awesome, but Chris Jericho never made his return. That one's kind of on me. And the latest expectation for Jericho's appearance in WWE that fans are speculating on is a crate that showed up to Adam Pearce, director of Raw, and has a sign that says, "Please do not open until the date of the Elimination Chamber, the 28th of February. Now, to quote Jim Cornette, anybody who comes out of a box is instantly over. Now, the latest information we have regarding Jericho's current contract status with AEW comes from Fightful, and they say that those close to the situation believe that Jericho's current contract may be frozen. Now, I want to make a point of emphasis here that the wording is very specific. It says the belief from those around Jericho and in AEW is that his deal was frozen after he took time off in 2025. This is very different to saying this is what's happening and his contract is frozen. This is a belief from someone near the situation, which means the source is not Jericho directly. It's just someone in AEW or near the situation. That being said, although this is getting some criticism from fans online because they're suggesting that maybe they're using it as a way to keep Jericho from going elsewhere when they don't have a use for him on TV, the reality of this situation is probably much more likely that Jericho wanted to take some time off, perhaps for his band, and do something away from AEW, but that doesn't mean that he gets to just run out the time on his contract and probably still has to, serve the years that he's agreed to. And in the interim, they're just going to freeze the contract if he knows that he's going to be away from TV for a little while, as he has been. So will we expect to see Jericho debut coming out of a crate at the Elimination Chamber? Probably not, but maybe. The best part about all this is we actually don't know. This is Schrodinger's box, and it's It's Schrodinger's Jericho contract. What's going to come out of the crate? What's going to come out of the contract? We don't really know. Jericho almost definitely is going to make a return to WWE, I would say, and I would agree that it's not a matter of if, but when. But at the moment, there's nothing to suggest it's happening in the next month or two. I hope you like sitting under the learning tree for this video, and to avoid getting yourself added onto the list, please like and subscribe.